In doing our Faith Ringgold story quilt, we did quite a few memory and idea days, as well as talked about how to use color and pattern. So our first brainstorming page was just about dividing the paper into a quilt-like area, giving space for a childhood story or memory, and then really brainstorming a list of words and ideas that have to do with you. Could be things about your family, friends, where you were born, your favorite things, your nicknames, your birth date, whatever that is. The second page was where you would start exploring by coming up with these images and figuring out how you can put line and pattern in there. In that, we also talked about how quilts can all be different. I showed a regular quilt in my class and a crazy quilt. Regular quilts are geometric patterns and shapes. A crazy quilt could be any kind of shapes put together, but the pattern and the color holds it together as well. This was a regular, what we did over here. So you could go this way where it's horizontal, or you could go vertical with this. You could actually take that idea and make it into a different kind of quilt where the inside is bigger and the outside is maybe shapes out here and a pattern along here. Maybe you decide the outside shapes are going to be a little different, and maybe there's 4 different ideas around the outside and then a main idea in the inside. But no matter what you're doing, you transfer that to your watercolor paper. So your final project is going to be on watercolor paper. The things we're looking for in the final project are pattern, which is a repetition of shape, color, form, or another element. Using a childhood memory or story, which is images or symbols from your life. This could be as recently as last year, or it could be things you remember from when you were little. It could be as recently as yesterday. Your details. You're going to use color pencil for the details because it's easier to control. In the large areas, you're going to start using watercolor, so we get a little bit of experience in watercolor. So this final project on the watercolor paper, I started one here so you can see. What I did through here is I had painted the blue and I painted the yellow and I let that dry. While that was drying, I actually drew these stars and sunflowers. Then I painted into the stars and sunflowers. And by the time that was painted, it was dry over here. So then I went over the top of this blue watercolor with some color pencil. And then when I went over the top of this yellow watercolor with this pencil, I got the sign for the Virgo. You can see after I painted the stars, I put color pencil in the background here. I made these color pencil lines between. I used a little bit of pen in the sunflowers too. And there's colored pencil behind the sunflowers. You can see right here I've used lots of different ideas of line for stitching. This line that wavers through here, I had done a pencil line. I did the orange watercolor over the top, and then I did thin, I think it was brown or maybe even blue lines through here. These lines are actually pen. So I did a straight stitch. I did little stitches here. Over here, I used colored pencil to make these little X stitches. Here I have more pen, colored pencil, colored pencil, colored pencil. So that's how I can do my outside. Because this is a quilt, I could repeat this whole pattern this way, and then all of this is probably what I'll do over here. The inner center is going to be, bless you, the things that are going to comprise that whole big memory. So I have my Virgo symbol for when I was born, The stars here and over there are the Starry Night, like the Van Gogh that I like to see. Sunflowers are a big part of my symbolism too. So your final project, you're going to sketch your ideas out. We already did those ideas, and you're going to figure out what your main idea is for the big paper. Watercolor some of the areas, and while that watercolor dries, work on the color pencil areas. You're also going to use the color pencil to create details and patterns. And you can use colored pencil, pen, marker, or dark pencil to make stitch marks. And if we stitch with thread, the stitches look like the straight across stitches like I did here and here. The X stitches, which I did over here. Or those kind of whip stitches that are going around the area like that. So that's our main introduction for the Faith Ringgild story quilt final project.